Hello there, it's Jay here from Jay's Vintage Junk, and today we're going to have a look at the EverReady Sky Baron that I picked up at that car boot sale for £2. I did mention on the last video where I just showed this as a quick pickup whether anyone was interested in actually seeing me restore this or whether it should be broken for spares, and everyone that commented basically said yeah, it needs to be restored. And to be fair, I completely agree with them. Since I actually made that last video, I've had this playing every single day. Basically what I've done is when I've been out of the house, I've got this old battery here. I think I pulled it out of an emergency light system or something like that, and it's got a shorted cell in it. It's a 12 volt lead acid. It's actually got a shorted cell in it, so no matter what you do, you can only charge it up to about 9 volts. What I use this for is I've just got an old scrappy radio and I want to listen to it in the garden. I tend to just connect, or I'm having a barbecue or something, I tend to connect it up to this and just let it play. Because obviously it's still got a fairly decent capacity on it. It's just like I said, one of the cells is completely shorted on it. And I've had it connected up to that. I'll just connect it up now and can let it just have a quick play. I've had it connected up to this battery, and it's been on from when I've really gone out in the morning until I've come back, just playing for the cat and the dog to keep them entertained, and it has played perfectly. I'll switch it on. It just works. That's actually a long wave radio 4. I'll have to come off it, also get a copyright strike, but
radio driven by you. New Formula Drive now with brand new.
Yeah, it's been playing on that radio, like I said, on that battery, sorry, since literally I made the last video, and it's still got plenty of power. This thing doesn't use a lot of power. I expect from the big, was it a Pt1? Let's just double check. The original battery, I said it was a Pt1. Yeah, Pt1, which is a big, long, flat 9 volt battery that would have fit in there. This radio probably played for months off. Oops, shorting the battery out there. I'll disconnect that. It probably actually played for months off one of them batteries until it needed replacing. If it was just used a few hours every day. But I've had this on, I said, for hours and hours and hours now, and it's not messed up once. It's just played and played and played. So it definitely deserves a second chance at life. And really, all that's wrong with it is cosmetics. The fact that the veneer is absolutely shot. The cabinet's been bashed here. We're missing the back. We're missing the bright from the centre of the dial there. That needs sorting out. But electronically, it's perfect. We will check the capacitors in it. I'm not expecting really to replace any. Possibly maybe an electrolytic if it's dried up, but it doesn't show any signs of any issues like that at all. Normally, really, these radios are pretty worthless. It wouldn't even be worth paying for the veneer to replace it, although to be honest I probably would anyway, because I did find some reasonable. But a big shout out to my friend Steve over at Steve's Vintage Electronics Long Stay Workshop. I'll put a link down to his videos in the description to this, but he's restoring a TV at the moment, and he's having to have the cabinet re-veneered, and he actually had enough spare leftover veneer that he said, would I like it to finish this radio off, so we can actually completely re-veneer this cabinet and get it looking, I won't say we're going to get it exactly to how it was in 1960 when it came out of the factory, but we're going to get it to as near as we can to as it was originally when it left the factory in 1960. So what I'll do is, basically the first thing we're going to have to do with this is we're going to have to completely strip this radio down, everything off it, the dial cloth off it, all the trim off it, the electronics out of it, the pointer, everything off it. So what I'll do is I'll reposition the camera, and we'll get this radio completely stripped down, and then we'll have a look at seeing if we can get the old veneer off and get it prepped and ready for re-veneering and completely rebuilding this radio. So I'll get us set up on that and we'll be back in a sec. Okay, we're all set now. So the first thing we're going to have to do is see if we can take this dial off and this control at the side. Now that one's going to be fairly easy, I think. We might start with that one, because that's got a little grub screw there that we can easily undo with the relevant screwdriver. I think we may have something in here which should do it. Let's try that. Might do it, or I might need something a little bit bigger. We'll try that. See what that one's like. Yes, this one's a little bit larger. We'll use this one. In fact, what's that one? That one's larger still. But will that go in the hole? Yes, it will. That's perfect. Alright, let's see if we can get this dial off, this volume control off. There we are. Lovely. Ah, that come off quite nicely. I'll just put the grub screw back in a bit so we don't lose it. And I've got a box here that everything that I take off the radio, basically I'm going to put in this box so we don't lose anything. I'm still not sure if that's actually the right control there, but actually looking round it, looking where the muck is there, if it isn't, it's been on there for a hell of a long time. We are also going to have to see if we can clean this, because it does look a bit filthy on one side. I would like to try and save this if I can, because it is the correct material for the radio. The next thing we've got to see if we can do is get that dial off, and this is going to be a pain. These can break when you take them off, but the way I found, the easiest way I found to do it is with a piece of wire like this, and basically we'll get the wire behind the dial like that, and we walk it off using the wire. So we just gently work it up, and we should be able to get our fingers underneath it now and pop it off. It's the same process you need to do on the Bosch TR82s to get the dial off them. There we go, and that's come off. That should clean up reasonably well. We'll see what we can do to see, perhaps get some of the scratches out of that and make it a little bit nicer. Put that to one side, and that's nice. They've actually screwed the dial plate in position rather than using some little nails, so these should come out quite nicely. In fact, I'm going to need a little container. I can put all the little screws that come off this thing, and then they can go back. Let's see if I can just find what I got. We can dedicate. I've got a little seal bag there. That'll do. So all the screws that we take out can go in that one bag. Swap one out. I was expecting that to actually be nailed or glued into position, so it's nice to find it's held in with a couple of little screws. Open the bag and we can drop all these screws in it, and we won't lose them. Then we can put this in the box with all the other parts. Let's see if this is going to come off cleanly now. There we go. And it really shows you the contrast in, you know, this is how dirty it's got over the years, but we will see if we can clean that. And nice metal dial plate. That's really thick actually for what it needs to be. Okay, now let's have a look at the Sky Baron emblem. A lot of these radios, you see that's missing, it's been broken off, because it is only a little piece of plastic. And again, it's screwed on rather than being nailed on, which is really nice. It is missing one corner. This is unfortunately what happens to them. So you can get it off. There we go. It is missing one corner there, but it is still intact. And we'll see again if we can clean that and perhaps refurb that a little bit, because it is quite scratched. But at the absolute worst, we could possibly make a new one. But if I can restore that one, it would be nicer. Put that in the box, and we'll put the screws in the bag. There we go. Right, let us turn our attention to the back. We'll take this plate off and we'll go over to Phillips now. Nice big Phillips. Got one there. Again, we'll put that in the bag. And this next one. And I think, if I remember last time, there's one more down here which holds the battery wires down. There we go, that's removed. Now that's bent over the wire, so it's not going to be lost, so we'll leave that in place, but we'll put the screw in the bag. We can take that back plate out now, and that exposes the main circuit board and the actual speaker. And that looks pretty damn good in there, to be honest. It's a tiny little circuit board, but we'll look at that. We'll look at that later. Like I said, in this video, I just really want to get this radio stripped down if possible, or at least stripped down as far as I can, and we can actually see about taking the old veneer off. Right, now let's have a look at removing the main radio chassis from the case. The first thing we'll need to do is disconnect the volume control there. We'll tip it on its side. It does look like they've just used two sizes of screw in this, one Phillips and one slotted. Although the screws are different lengths, so I'll have to remember that when I reassemble it, that I've got to make sure I put the screws in the right places. Right, that's off. I'm just trying to get this screw out of the plate so I can put it in the bag and we don't lose it. There we go. Right, now let's see if we can tackle that mammoth speaker there. Let's see how that's fitted down as well. Got 1, 2, 3 I can see fixings there, and then we've got 4 fixings for the actual speaker in there. Let's see what we've got we can get these out with. That nut spring to fit them. No. Might have to use some long nose pliers to just loosen the nuts off here, so we can actually get them out. Let's see what we've got in my toolbox here. Let's see if these will go in. This is sometimes a problem with old radios and record players I've worked on, especially if they've been slightly damp in the past, and these fixings, I have actually in the past had to Dremel them off and replace them. This one's been a little bit tough, to be honest. Let's see if I can get in there. Right, that turn. No, it didn't. Yeah, I think these are going to be tricky. These aren't wanting to come undone easily. Ah, hang on. I might have got that one started. Nope. None of these are better. Yeah, we're going to have some issues here because these fixings are. Is it just about turning now? Yeah, I've got it turning now. I can't actually turn it with my fingers though. I have to use the pliers, so this could take some time to get these out. It could be that the whole screw is unfortunately turning in the wood. I've had that happen as well. Like I said, when these get really corroded, they can be. Although it is, I think it is actually coming out. Guess this may have been. In fact, judging by the veneer loss and the fact that actually some of the wood here is starting to delaminate on the ply, I think at some point this was perhaps stored, you know, like in a garage or a shed or something like that, and it did get a little bit damp. Fortunately, it hasn't affected the speaker. The speaker doesn't distort at all. The speaker, in fact, is really good in it. There we go. Finally got that out. All this is just a couple of I see what they've done. Oh no, that's we've got a washer with a spring washer with a nut on top of it. So that's one down, 3 more to go on the speaker, and then I've got another 3 on the actual radio chassis to get out. I'll just see if any of these are going to be any easier than that one. In fact, that one's turning a little bit easier. Also, the ones at the bottom, obviously the original battery had corroded or been gassing out. Those are the ones that are going to obviously be closer to the battery and are going to suffer more corrosion. It doesn't actually, in this radio, to be totally fair, it does not look like there's any ever been any battery leakage or any battery corrosion. I'm guessing it is probably more likely just to be due to slightly damp storage at some point in its past life. Yeah, even that one. It was just that one in that corner there that was giving us a bit of a headache. That one's come out okay. Oops, yeah, that one's out okay. I have dropped the washer for it though, which I need to pick back up. I'll drop them in the bag. And that washer from that one over there. So we've only got one more on the speaker. Which is a little bit awkward to get to because of where the output transformer for the radio's been mounted, but I think we've got it turning. See if I can get in with my fingers again. That's a bit stiff, that one. You will always find that the stiffest, hardest to turn fixing is always in the most inaccessible of places. I think this is a good example of that. It is turning, but it's rather stiff. It is moving. I need to find my other little nut spinners really, because I do have an imperial set as well as a metric set. There we go. That's it. We won't just pull the speaker straight out, but because of the way that this has been designed, you've actually got the output transistors and the output transformer for the radio actually mounted on the back of the speaker rather than actually on the radio's PCB, which is a bit unusual. I mean, I've seen the output transformer mounted like that before, but I can't actually say I've ever come across the output transistors also being mounted like that. Right, so that's the radio. That's the speaker 3. We've just got. I'm hoping these are what are holding the chassis down anyway. If I'd have been thinking, I'd have pulled the service data for this radio, because I do have it in my archives. Right, that's that one out. We've got another 2 like that down this side. So this is actually quite nicely built. It seems that the actual radio chassis itself is actually suspended on some little rubber mounts. Unfortunately, they actually still feel in reasonably nice condition as well. Right, again, a little bit fiddly to get down and to actually get these nuts. They still won't turn yet. Get these nuts off. There we go, that one's turning now. Ooh, no, it's not. There we go. Hopefully that's got it this time. Yeah, that's got it this time. Those were stiff. Right, I've got another one there to do. Hopefully we can pull the circuit out and have a look at it. Ah, there we go. That's freed it off. So they're out. There's one more washer I need to just select. Oh, I've dropped it. Let me see if we can pick it up. Yes. Right, so I think that's all the washers and nuts out. We'll put them all in the little bag. Right. They're all in there. And hopefully we can pull the chassis out now. There we go. Oh, there's one more washer to go in there. And pull. And there we go. That's the whole radio chassis. And this is what I mean about, we've got the speaker there, but we've actually got the output transistors mounted on a tag strip on the back of the speaker, complete with its output transformer. I've never actually come across it quite set up like that. I've seen quite a fair few even transistorized sets that have had the output transformer mounted to the speaker, but yeah, I think we're going to do a separate video on this. It's going to take a little bit of disassembly actually to get in there, and I don't really think there's going to be very much that we're going to want to change. All we'll be doing really is testing some of the capacitors, and the very possibility we may change one electrolytic in there if it's leaky. If it's not leaky, I'm not going to be changing it, because like I said, electronically this thing just runs, it just plays absolutely lovely. But let's just see if we can just quickly fire it up naked on the bench like this, just to make sure it does still work now we've pulled it out of its cabinet. Just get that connected up to there. Connect that up. There we go. It really does play very, very nicely. Anyway, disconnect that. we'll put the chassis away and we'll have a look at seeing how far we can go with stripping this actual cabinet down. So we'll get that to one side and I'll put that away safely out of the way. Okay, that'll be safe in there like that. Let's get the cabinet back in. And let's see how difficult it's going to be to actually remove these trim strips. Once we've got them on, we can see about actually taking the fabric off as well. And we'll see. I might actually get lucky and might just be able to pull the little nails out. I'll get my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing. And these little strips are basically held on with some little tacks in the back corners. And with a little bit of prying, oops, I'm dropping my glasses. I'm good at that. Right. Got some older side cutters there, an old screwdriver, and we'll just try and lift. I don't want to bend the trim really, I just want to see if I can get under that nail and pull it out. There's, I've just got it to lift ever so slightly there. Get hold of it, give it a little twist, and basically it's a twist and pulling action you want, and just draw the pin out like that. So I've got that one out. I don't want to risk bending this trim. If you bend it, you're not really going to be able to get it back and have it look perfect when you want to do a full veneer like this. You could technically do it and leave the material on, but I already need to repair this material where it's torn in there. This trim is very, very tarnished, so I'd like to get it off, and like I say, I really do want to make a nice job of this radio. Again, we'll just lift that up and we'll see if we can get that pin out, and I can get hold of it. Sometimes some old side cutters can help. Ooh, I had to just gack into the material there, unfortunately right at the back. And obviously these were never really designed to come back out again, so you're slightly annoyed I bashed into that, but like I say, it's fixable. Nearly. There we go. Got one side of that pin up. There we are. Pulled it up like that. And just draw the pin out, twist and pull. I'll put that in the bag. We should be able to straighten them pins and reuse them to reattach that when we've finished. Got two more of them to take out. So again, we'll just go under and just see if we can just lift it up a little bit. I don't want to risk damaging the fabric anymore. A bit of a slip there. Let's try going in with these. It doesn't matter if you really mark the metal around here providing you don't do it too badly, obviously, because it is the back of the radio. It isn't going to be seen terribly, but obviously you want to do the absolute bare minimum of damage when you try to take trim off like this. Same as when you're working on the car and you try to take trim off a car, especially if it's an older car and the trim's got brittle. In fact, it's even harder. This, at least, so you are talking about nails and brass trim. Right, I've got one more of them to take out, which is here. Oh, I think this one's going to be an easy one. Yeah, look at that. That one's come straight out. Sometimes they're dead easy, other ones you can really struggle with. Right, so that's all the nails out. We should be able to now very gently ease this trim off. So we go in with a screwdriver and just very gently lift it up. There we go. We don't have to worry about scraping or damaging the veneer here, because we are going to be replacing it. But very gently just ease the trim strips off. So we don't want to really bend them, because if we put a big kink in it, we're never going to get that out again. Doesn't matter if we very slightly bend it as we ease it off, but like I said, we don't want to put any. There we go, that's freeing up now. We don't want to put any real bends in it, just very gently. Got stuck there, so we'll just try starting from the other side and see if we can meet it and just ease it off like that. Just, damn, my glasses have gone again. There they are. A scraper here, we'll just try seeing if we can get the scraper in and see if they can help it off with that. There we go. That's coming off. A good sharp scraper is always useful when you're doing this on radios. It's also going to be handy for getting the old veneer off as well. Let's just go in there. So incredibly gentle as with this trim. If we break it, we're buggered. There we go. It's coming off. Gently ease it off. There we go. Last little bit of trim here that's being a pain. There we go. There we are. That's the first piece off. Just gently ease it out. Very slight curve to it there, but that can easily set back in. That's not a problem. So with no nasty kinks in it or anything. And when we put that back in when we've finished, that'll go in nice and straight still. So I was quite happy with that coming off. Yeah, that's come off quite well really. Some of these can be a lot harder than that. That one actually come off reasonably easily. So we've got the same thing to do again at the bottom. So just ease this out. That's all the way out to there. Try doing this side again first. So we don't have to worry about messing the veneer up because we're going to be replacing it, so it doesn't matter that I'm actually levering against the veneer here. It's really tight on this side. So I can get in there and ease it free, yeah. That is coming off now, but it's that particular piece here is quite stiff. There we are. Past the bit that was being tricky, it's coming off quite easily now, up to there. Right, so we've just got to get it off the front here now. Again, we'll go in and we'll ease that off. There we are. With some places it will come out dead easy like that, and then you'll get a part that's particularly stiff. Okay, so we're right to this end piece, which just, there we are. In fact, that one come off really quite easily. And again, it's not in bad condition. It's not got any nasty kings. It's just got a slight bend to it, which we can easily get out when we refit it. So that again has come off a lot easier than I thought we might struggle with them, but they didn't come off too badly. Right, next thing we need to do is see about taking off the actual cloth here. And it all depends on how good the original glue was. Now they tended to use animal glues back when this was made, and fortunately they're not the strongest things in the world, and if you're very careful, and I do mean very careful. In fact, here we've got a problem. This definitely has been a little bit damp sometime in the past, because the plywood here is actually starting to delaminate. As I'm pulling the cloth off, the laminations of the plywood are actually starting to separate. So I will just have to be very careful as I bring it off around here, and we can actually repair that at a later date. And run some wood glue in there and clamp it up and fix that. Right, we're having a bit of an issue where, there we are, that's free. And we'll just gently peel this material off. So this could potentially be left on, but this is filthy. I need to repair it, and I'm going to reuse it where it's torn on the front of the speaker. And it's easier to actually repair when it's in this condition, when it's actually off the radio. So again, we'll just very gently, all we're doing is very gently peeling it down and off, like that. So you don't want to rush this, because you don't. Well, if you want to try, to be honest, you can get replacement materials, but I would really like to try and reuse this original fabric if I can. So you do have to be careful doing this, especially like here where you've got a hole cut in it for the the tuning pointer. If you're not careful when you're coming past something like that, you can potentially tear the fabric. That's actually come off around there okay. Just keep going. Okay, so far so good. Right, there we are. We're on to the final side. I don't want it to rip there, it's actually starting to tear a little bit at the top there, so let's see what we can do to address that. We'll start from the inside and we'll work back to where it's starting to tear, if we can. So what you can get new materials, you cannot actually get this exact fabric. I don't think this stuff's been made for many years now. So you would have to have just something that was sympathetic to it rather than the exact fabric if you was to actually replace this. I do have some sympathetic 1960s fabric we could use, but it is not identical. Hence why, like I say, I would much rather see if we can get this off and repair it. There we go. Coming off quite nicely now. And like I say, it was at the top there, it was starting to tear, so that's the last piece we're going to pull off and pull down towards it. Then we'll minimise the risk of it actually ripping as we get it off. There we are. So that's all the fabric. I'll just get that out of the way and we can have a quick look at the fabric. That is all the fabric off the radio, taken off in one piece, like I said, so we can, there's a little bit of a repair needs to be done there. There's a tear here where the speaker got bashed in, so I'll have to repair that. And it's pretty filthy, so we'll have to give it a really good clean. But I think I can probably save that piece of fabric and we can reuse it on the radio. So again, that'll go in the box with the rest of the parts we've taken off. And we're really just left with the cabinet now. And this in some ways can be one of the trickiest actual parts now, which is getting this old manky veneer off. Now, depending on how manky it is, sometimes it will just literally come off like this. Other times it can be quite well adhered in places and flaking off in others, like we've got there. Like I said, that's pretty solid now, that just flaked right off. One thing is, because they used to use animal glues, what we can actually do, I'm going to turn my hot air station right down. I'm going to crank the heat right down on it. I've got it at about 100. I'm going to basically use it to warm. Feel like, yeah, that's about right. I'm going to use it to warm the old veneer, and we'll see if we can get the glue that they used to use to actually, I think we'll go up a little bit from that. Let's try about 140, a little bit more of a flow. And we'll warm the old veneer up and we'll see how hard it is to actually get off. I may actually resort to taking it down into the summer house and using a sander and actually sanding it off. We'll see how easily. No, look at that now. You see, all I'm doing is heating it with the with my hot air. Like I said, I've got this turned right down. But all I have to do is warm it. As you can see, the old veneer. You can't see that because I've got my hand in the way, haven't I? But basically, as you can see, all we do is just warm it up. You can see you're basically warming the animal glue that was used to stick it down, and as you warm it up it releases, and you're going to do far less damage to the actual cabinet doing it this way than as if you was to scrape and sand it off without warming it first. So it does make life quite a bit easier to be able to do it this way. You can see. We'll just do the cabinet. We'll just do the top now, I think. Otherwise, it's going to make this video far too long. But I will show you the completed cabinet. If I'm feeling really inclined, I might show you the completed cabinet at the end of this video, so you know what we're going to be working with. At least you can see there, that's just lifting. In fact, I even keep pieces of this veneer for patching in veneer on radios. You know, when there's just like a tiny little piece missing and it's not worth re-veneering the whole cabinet. So even these bits of veneer that I take off, you know, I do keep some of the better pieces for patching in veneer on other sets. But when it's as bad as this one, and you know, I want this radio to look nice, it's worth doing the re-veneering on it. See, that's coming off there. Get that piece off. There we go. Let's get the warm that back up there. Unfortunately, with the heat I've got applied here, you're not really going to scorch the underlying wood. You know, because you don't want your you don't just have to use I mean, just because I'm in the workshop here, I'm using what I've got on hand, which is my hot air rework station. A paint stripping gun would be just as good. Obviously it's not quite as controllable, so you do have to be conscious on the heat. You don't want to start blackening this wood underneath. You just want to warm the glue enough that it starts to separate and you can just pull the veneer off. Right here, there we go. And what I'll do is I will come back when I've got this stripped off, and you can have a look at the cabinet when it's ready for well, it won't be ready. We'll have to prep this. We'll have to prep this once it's all stripped. But we'll come back when I've got the rest of this veneer off. So back in a sec. Okay, as you can see, I've got most of the veneer off now. Now this is a little bit on the top there, and actually, that's not some veneer I couldn't get off. It seems to be a wood filler. So what I think's happened is when they originally veneered this, there were a couple of actual blemishes in the veneer. I mean, they wouldn't have been using like the absolute top high-end veneer on a cheap radio like this, so it probably had a few little blemishes in it. And what they've done is they've actually filled them in, sanded it, and then put the varnish on the top, because the varnish used on these radios actually has a bit of a pigment and a colour in it. So it kind of disguise any little imperfection like that. So we will have to sand that bit of filler there off. But I also discovered Now the bottom bit there was all veneered, but these two front pieces there and there, that's not actually veneer. All they've literally done is they've just sprayed over the ply that the cabinet's made out of. Because I was trying to get that off until I realised it's actually not veneer, it is actually just part of the ply. But the top piece up here, that was veneered on both sides, there and there. But the bottom piece down there, again, it's just it's just part of the plywood side with the slot for the trim routed into it, cut into it like that. So we can't really take that off. All we're going to have to do is just sand that off, and when this gets its final stain, hopefully it'll stain in okay. But yeah, that is basically the cabinet stripped. Like I say, I'm just going to have to run the sander over that just to get rid of them imperfections, and just to smooth this down, because you can still feel like the remains of the glue on it. So that'll all need cleaning off. The front will need a good clean, and all the old glue here needs stripping off. And then really, it's going to need a little bit of repair work underneath, because just there it's actually lost a bit of the timber, and it's, you know, it is breaking away. It's not good, so I'll probably make a new piece to go in there. That one's lost a little bit, but it's usable. It's okay. I don't think I need to change that one. But I'll make a new piece for that side there, fix that in there, and then we should be at the point where we can actually re-veneer this cabinet and get this cabinet really, really nice. But we're not going to do that in the next video. I think in the next video we'll take a look at the chassis. We'll give it a really good once over, because I can't see there's really anything wrong with it at all. But seeing we've got it out, we'll give it a really good once over, and we'll have a look at that dial cloth, and we'll see where we can actually do something with that dial cloth and bring it back to life. So we'll call this part one of this EverReady. What's the radio now? It's a Sky something, isn't it? All EverReady radio seems to be a Sky something. A Sky Baron. That's it. So this is going to be part one of the EverReady Sky Baron restoration. Hope you enjoy this little video. So thanks for watching, and goodbye.